We're back here on Extra Rounds. TJ De Santis, pleased to be joined now by Cousin Sal, a pillar in the sports gambling world for me. I mean, I came up growing up with all the way back to really win Ben Stein's money, which has nothing to do with sports gambling, but that's how long I've been aware of you, sir. It's been a long run. How are you these days?
I'm doing well. It's funny you say it has nothing to do with sports. Well, it certainly wasn't a sport when Ben going up against, a trivia contest against regular nobody contestants and winning about 95% of the time. But my cousin Jimmy, who hosted at the time, and I would bet on what score Ben would beat the hapless opponent. So just to get things excited. So I think I lost money on that too, is the bottom line.
I mean, you got to have skin in the game, right? It's not worth playing if you don't have skin in the game.
Absolutely.
What was Ben Stein like back in the day, man? Because like he's like this cult icon, if you will.
He is. I love Ben. He's been very good to me and Jimmy over the years. And he's just he would study. And I later went on to host that show too. And we would, I would always root for him to win the first show because we would tape 4 in a day. And if he lost the first show, he would have to lay down for about an hour. And like I said, these 4 show tape days would go about 10 or 12 hours. If he didn't, lay down and say he was sick. So I was like, please just win the first one. Please just win the first. I remember once we had to bring an ambulance in there because he thought he was having a heart attack, but good guy overall. I don't know why I got sidetracked there, but just to give you a little insight.
Well, I'm curious. Like, was Ben that competitive? Like, if things didn't go his way, he wanted to like regroup.
Oh yeah, we used to say, Ben, you win 90% of the time. There's no show if you beat everybody. You understand, right? This is no fun. Like nobody's going to tune in, and he just would not take that. He'd be studying. He'd be reading books between shows and stuff like that. So very competitive.
Yeah, I mean, if he never lost, they would have to just change the name of the show to "You Can't Win Ben Stein's Money."
Exactly. Don't watch this. There's no point.
Right. Exactly.
The show. Yeah.
Exactly. So, are you a big MMA fan? Or are you a UFC guy?
I love it. I mean, I bet on everything. So,
right.
I get all the pay-per-views, and I had a good run this weekend, by the way. I hit 4 of the 5 on the main card, which is rare for me to even get 3 of the 5. So yeah, I'm ready to talk whenever you want. I mean, this was a good one for me.
Yeah, like, let me know, how'd you come down to the main event? Because I saw Henry Cejudo was even money by the time the fight came around, and being a former champion, I thought that maybe the money would start to flood in on Henry, but Aljamain's a guy that, I mean, he really can't seem to count out these days.
I like the wrestlers. I know you can go back and forth with Cejudo. I'm going against Cejudo, a gold medalist, but Sterling is a wrestler from Long Island. I'm from Long Island, so there's a little bit of I got some allegiance there. I like the price on Sterling. Like you said, it was about even. I'm like, this is a champ. I'm getting even odds, and I think he could handle him. And I actually did think he won the fight. I thought he won 3 of the 5 rounds. Now, the one judge who had Cejudo losing the 5th round, that was wrong. I think that was a pretty obvious round. So I understand where people get mad, but I think Sterling won 3 of the 5. You can look at the significant strikes, and it wasn't even just total significant strikes. I think he beat him in that category every single round, even the 5th actually. But overall, I thought it was a good fight, and I thought he won 3 out of the 5. I thought he did enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's nothing wrong with being a homer every once in a while. You know what I mean? You gotta go with the heart every once in a while. But the thing I will say is, it seems like people from Long Island are the only ones that are really backing Aljamain Sterling, all out. It seems like, for whatever reason, he's just one of those champions that seem to rub people the wrong way. What do you think that is?
I think he does. He kind of, I don't want to say deceitful, but he knows the ins and outs of the game, right? So he'll stay on his knees purposely, just in the hopes to take a shot to the head, which is illegal in UFC, and maybe catch a disqualification for Cejudo. So he does little things like that, little tricks, not at all flashy. I think Cejudo was like the bigger draw. So maybe things like that. I don't know. I'm not sure in general. Aside from that, maybe it is a Long Island bias the other way. But yeah, he was. I don't want to say the hometown guy, but it was not 100 miles away from where he's from. So maybe there was a little home cooking. Although, like I said, I really think he got 3 of the 5 anyway.
Yeah, I thought he won fair and square. You mentioned that sort of hanging out on all fours. To me, That's the one rule that needs to change in mixed martial arts. I think you need to get rid of the illegal knees on the floor. I think that they should be legal because Aljo, I mean, he's doing a good job at sort of, using the rules to his advantage, but a position should not be a defense. And I think for Sterling, it very much is a defense.
Yeah, I'm with you. It doesn't seem to be within the spirit of the game, right? Like I understand the early days of MMA, you could, you can't scratch the guy's eyes out, right? Pulling hair. I don't know what else. No wedgies, I think, right, is a rule. But something like this, you're just, you're right. It's just positioning and hoping for the worst at this point. And like you could, I don't know. I mean, John Bones Jones lost that way, right? That was I mean, we've seen so many people, so many undefeated records go by the wayside because of that, and it doesn't seem fair.
Yeah. His were like 12-6 elbows, which doesn't even really exist. Like to bring an elbow straight from the ceiling to the floor, it's like a perfect circle. You can't draw one really. You know what I mean? But so when you are putting money down on fights, does it cloud your vision? Do you become more biased towards your guy, or do you feel like maybe even goes the other way and you're like more difficult and hard on the guy that you're riding with?
I think it's both. I mean, if you lose a close decision, you're probably going to look for, my friend, the Parlay Kid, we just did a podcast and he had Cejudo and he was devastated that guy took the fifth round. Like that judge didn't give him the fifth round. I'm like, okay, but overall Sterling won 3 of the 5 probably, right? He's like, well, I don't care because if they changed that fifth round like they should have, whatever, Cejudo should have won. So you're like that. But you're also, if your guy's not bringing it that night, you're like, to hell with you, like you give up. Like, I hope you get knocked out if you're not going to fight, So I've seen it both ways. You definitely start feeling every punch. I did this with boxing years ago, and I'm not going to say I've given up on boxing because I also bet the, Alvarez. I had a lot of pay-per-view. I had to overcome the $160 I spent in pay-per-view money in bets.
Right.
So already I'm like a bet down or so. So, but boxing just, you don't get a good fight. You get one every 3 years now, it seems. Right?
Yeah.
What do we have? Like Davis versus Garcia was great, but that's the great thing about UFC. And maybe it's because there's one guy running it, but there does seem to be like a tremendous, I don't know. We get 15, 18 great fights a year. And maybe even more depending on how you look at it. No,
I agree. It's one of those things in mixed martial arts where, sure, the main event is what sells pay-per-views, but if you tune in and watch fight one in the main card or even in the prelim card, the Fight Pass prelims, odds are you're going to run into a pretty good fight. The most publicized fights aren't always the fights of the year. Sometimes it's the fighters you never even heard of that smack you across the face and say, pay attention to me, damn it.
Absolutely. No, I love it. I'm in for it every week. And I just, I try to get an edge with money. I feel like if I'm betting overs, they don't come in. I mean, it's a terrifying bet betting over like 2.5 rounds.
Yeah.
Because then you really feel every fight and you got to kind of get lucky there. So I don't know. I try to take just like advantages like I saw with Sterling on the champ, and I saw the breakdown, and I'm like, well, if there's going to be 5 rounds, it's going to go the distance. I think he'll get 3 of them. So you might say I got lucky, and I probably did. But
I mean, are you generally doing prop bets and parlays, or how do you approach it?
Yeah, so if I'll see like a big favorite like that, who was it? Evloev?
Movsar Evloev.
Yeah, Evloev. Yeah, right. So against Lopez, and that Lopez was game, right? Like he had two submissions that you like. Movsar, you didn't think he was going to get at him, right? He had the arm bar, and then what was the other one? He had the
he had a knee bar.
Knee bar, right?
Yeah.
And he just held on. And for a guy who was like 16-0 coming in, he wins the unanimous decision. But he was a huge favorite. He was like a minus 900, I think, when it went off. So I like to pair him with somebody else who's also a biggish kind of favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Like Charles Jourdain was not even a huge favorite, but Ribeiro was a big favorite. So I like to put a few of those together. Parker Porter, I believe, was one in the early preliminaries. And so I made money that way too. So that was good.
Chaos, I mean, that's what I hear. That's what I hear. I hear the money is made on the prelims.
Yeah. Well, you can get stuck too, right? That's where the upsets are too. So if you're an idiot like me who just wants the big money line favorites, you're going to find them more in the prelims because you have tighter matchups in the main 5. But I like to put one of those big favorites with a main card fight, and that's usually how I do it.
Well, if people were watching this interview looking for a prop bet, if there was one, it would be how much will my glasses fog over during this thing? And it's the over. My goodness, Sal.
What happened?
It's warm here in Southern California, and I have yet to have a real warm day. And I had to turn on these hot lights. Everything's just coming unglued right now. It's not good.
I was just talking, I'm in Southern California also, but I'm kind of by the beach, and it doesn't ever seem to get north of 70 degrees. And yet
God.
I was at a flag football game for 5 hours yesterday watching my son. He ended up having like a semifinals and then a consolation game 2 hours later. You can't even tell, but my neck is a disaster.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah. I'm not proud of it. I'm a stupid man.
I mean, it happens. I'm allergic to the sun. I'm allergic. I try to stay inside. Yeah. I mean, I'm pasty white. You don't understand. So
yeah.
I'm allergic to the outdoors, allergic to physical fitness. I just try to stay in here, and watch fights for a living.
That's right. Who's fair skinned? O'Malley? Who they're talking about
for sure. Yeah, I can. But I mean, he's so tatted up, you can't even tell what his real complexion is anymore.
That's true. Maybe that's the way to go. Yeah,
maybe I don't like needles though. I don't know. Where can people catch you talking about sports and gambling and all that fun stuff?
Extra Points Podcast Network. Check it out wherever you listen to podcasts. And that's it. I'm at the Cousin Sal on Twitter. And I love the MMA cards. And thanks for having me on. It's fun.